that you have to
Yeah.
do to kind of pivot and look into different directions. How can individuals effectively build those connections and establish themselves in a new industry?
It's a good question. And I know it can be daunting. I think there's different ways. I find now more and more there's more unique ways to network. I feel like before it would be like going in person to a networking event. Now there's different Slack communities. There are different monthly subscriptions that you could pay money to get into a community. Even if it's like $10 a month or $30 a month, depends on how much it is. And some are free, but there's things like that. And I can even share, there's a few. I mean, there's Alpha, which is one for women. There's Tech Ladies is another one I can always send this after, but like Try Toast is one for women in tech, which is really cool. Um, it's new, and there's a way so you can really be a part of this community. There's different events or different online events. I think there's even like a Slack community with that one. So there's those sort of ways. So if you start even looking at those on LinkedIn and start um, following different ones, and then like there's an algorithm with LinkedIn, so then you're going to start seeing more like-minded or like information similar to that. Monday.com is another one, but for even just networking on LinkedIn, I think is huge. Like Apollo.io is a way to find like emails of decision makers in LinkedIn. So if you wanted to use that tool, if you're feeling like you want to see if you can get their information and email them outside of just DMing them, that's an idea. But even just like searching viral layoffs, like posts for recruiters, like often recruiters post on those layoff posts, and they post like unposted roles. Another way is even just start following the company. Think about a lot of positions are not online. Like they don't post them on LinkedIn. And especially if you're like interested in startups and if you're pivoting to a career in tech, a lot of startups don't have the job posted on their website, or they're growing, and then they're just realizing they need someone and they haven't posted it yet. So if you really take that time to be reflective and think about the type of company you want to work at, maybe it's fintech, maybe it's AI or whatever it might be. If you start following those companies on LinkedIn, you could even you could do a search on LinkedIn and seeing like ex-employees who used to work there, or employees that work there. But reaching out to an ex-employee of a certain company, uh, it might even make you feel more comfortable by connecting with them and just being like, I noticed that you worked at this company. I'd love like to have a coffee chat to better understand, that your experience working there. I'd love their like what they're about, and I'd love to like see if there might be an opportunity there in the future. And maybe they'll reach out back out and say, yeah, sure. There's nothing that you can't lose from even trying to do that. And I find a lot of times people are definitely willing to connect with people and help them out in that regard. So that's an idea. Um, Even just building connections with recruiters, and if there's even recruiters at a company, perhaps asking how they source, or like what type of things that they look at that stands them apart, that and enable them to get hired at that company, or even if you can research things like that online. um but yeah, I hope that's helpful. If there's more I could say, but
It's
that's a good start.
extremely helpful. I think it's really useful as well to know that the standard route of just like picking someone on LinkedIn and DMing them is not like the only way to connect with people, because I'm quite shy with that kind of stuff. So the idea of like cold calling someone essentially on LinkedIn is quite a daunting
Yeah.
thought process. So the fact that there are these communities, I mean, Equipped is one of them where you can kind of meet people And it's very much like it's who you know, not what you know. And when you make the right connections and you meet the right people, it really can kind of spiral you down in the direction of success.
Yeah.
Uh,
And there's also, you know, and again, a lot of it is getting out of our comfort zone, and it's not, it's easier for some than others, but um like even commenting. If you don't want to post stuff on LinkedIn, you could always comment on things. To get your name out there is helpful as well.
do you think that there is a difference in approaching networking? Have you seen a difference, I guess, with women approaching networking versus men? From my perspective as a young woman in my career, I'm terrified to network, so it's definitely a little more daunting. Whilst my partner is very much like, "Oh, just message them, just go ahead." And I feel like I find it quite daunting as a woman in the industry. What's your
Yeah.
perspective on that?
I think that yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a woman versus men, but I do find I think being those women specific communities where there's a more of a feeling of empowering one another, and and it just respecting and understanding like the diversity of all of the type of if you're an introvert versus extrovert, like, you know what I mean? Like, I think it's just like everything is celebrated, those type of communities, um enable people to just feel comfortable to ask those questions, to make those connections a little bit easier than other means of just cold calling or cold messaging someone on LinkedIn. So I think because there's more ways, and there's a little bit more of an understanding that not everyone just feels comfortable just going to that event or messaging those people, and allowing for that opportunity for everyone to be able to make those meaningful connections, especially in such a remote world that we live in these days. So we get, yeah, and the other, it's just the one thing sometimes that comes with a price tag, but the price tag of being a part of that like subscription model where there's this community, um, still, might be an investment in your $30 a month might be worth it when you think about the connections you're making, the opportunities that are being brought to you, and also just in a way that feels authentic to yourself, where you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go out and just start posting on LinkedIn or like start cold messaging these people. Just depends on what's comfortable for you. But the other thing too is now there's live career events on LinkedIn sometimes, or maybe it's you can find them through LinkedIn by posting or like just searching career, like hashtag career events or virtual career events. So you could even go to those, like this, for example. And there's some that are free. You just have to look for them. So that's another way of doing it that is not, so aggressive.
Yeah, it's definitely daunting when you see those, like you're referring to those viral laid off posts where people are like, "Yeah, I lost my job," and I'm just sat there like, I can't do that. Like, I'm not brave enough to
Yeah.
admit that I've been laid off, which I had been earlier this year. So it's definitely a daunting task, but I definitely think that, kind of to your point, there's a lot of resources out there that aren't the traditional kind of cold calling that we as women can utilize and really use to strengthen our cause.
Yeah.
So I'm going to switch to some of the community questions now that we've been kind of getting through on the link.
Sure.
Uh, so, with continued layoffs in tech, how do you best protect yourself, and do stronger soft or hard skills, do they make you more vulnerable?
Sorry, what's the last part of the question?
Sorry, I'll reread it. With continued layoffs in tech, how do you best protect yourself? And do stronger soft or hard skills make you more vulnerable?
Stronger, softer, hard skills?
Or hard skills?
Okay, or hard skills. I think, I mean, it's hard, right? Because the tech layoffs, I feel like no, whether it's a big company or a small company, a startup, you feel vulnerable no matter what, right? But I think the when you mean vulnerable, are you meaning I guess I just don't know how to interpret that question.
Yeah, let me find it. It's kind of moved on the. Um, I guess it's basically like if you have strong soft skills, and it
Yeah.
because these questions are anonymous, please do shout out in the Q&A if I'm interpreting your question incorrectly. But I think that what I'm perceiving is that do if you've got like extremely strong hard skills, like you're extremely technical in an area,
Yeah.
uh, is that going to benefit you, or is that going to make you more of a kind of vulnerable target? Or is it a case of like if I've got really great interpersonal skills, but my harder skills aren't as strong, does that make me more vulnerable as a
Oh,
target?
okay. Yeah. I think having those hard technical skills, I think that's an asset. I definitely think, for example, like, if you're Ruby on Rails, um, like background, or, you have experience specifically with Laravel, or, you have, a background, in cloud or data, whatever it might be, one of the technologies. I think there's a niche that is, that's going to help you. But if you're finding that that technical skill is maybe not as I get transformative, it's not as it's not as popular these days, then I think it's important to um focus on, maybe getting more practical knowledge within another language, or just even just I think that's good in general, just in case, you might be a full stack developer, but like use a certain backend technology that is a little dated, so it might be good to play around with other ones. Whatever it might be, I think that's important. But no matter what, I think those soft skills are um always attractive. But I think it's the way depending on the job and the position. I think if you just stick to your values and what you know important to you, and like within those soft skills, and what's what how you want to bring about your soft skills, and like brand yourself, and like how are vocalizing what those soft skills are. I think um I mean that's integrity in itself. And and not all roles are, some are, your soft skills are not as important, like certain soft skills anyways. So if it's more of like a client facing role, I think that is very important, like a piece, and that's going to be like even more important than maybe your hard skills. So it really just depends on the job.
Great, thank you. So the highest voted question on our poll so far is I got my first switch job, so I switched careers, and then I've been part of a layoff.
Okay.
It's now taken me months to find a job. What do I do with that gap in my resume?
I have to say that now, especially, and in a career in tech, and a career like even gaps on resumes, we don't see it like such a hindrance. um please give yourself grace for that gap. I mean, I had a gap in my resume for a few months in COVID. I had two young kids and I was taking care of them. And like I've embraced that on my LinkedIn profile now, because hey, that's life, right? And that was an important piece for me. Um, so I really think that the I think it's about knowing how to talk about what you learned and what you've done during that gap time, right? So uh, you've been looking for a job potentially, and you haven't had success because it's a really tough market right now. And that has nothing to do with your skills and your ability to perform the job. And more people, we know this as hiring managers, as recruiters, we know that it's not going to prevent us from looking at someone, I would say. Like, and if that's an issue with that person, you don't want to be hired by that company then. So please give yourself some grace. But I think thinking about, okay, maybe during that time I've looked and I've learned some certain tools. So maybe it's those, time management tools, or any sort of, now there's all these different online courses. If there's certain companies that you're looking at, and you want to just, there might be a certain skill set you're looking at. Like now, there's different, there's Skillshare, there's Udemy, there's Coursera, there's, different type of workshops, there's LinkedIn Learning. So I think even just being able to like vocally share some reflection of what you've learned throughout that time, even if it's you're not spending a ton of time, you might not be taking a full course, but like if you can show that there's learnings throughout that time as you've been trying to find that other job, I think that's a story in itself, and that's just worthwhile, because it's showing that you're wanting to, you have that growth mindset, and you're wanting to not stay stagnant as you're still looking for that job.
That's great. As someone that's currently taking a purposeful career gap,
Yeah,
it's really nice to hear give yourself grace,
give
because I think
yourself grace,
there's a lot of
please.
pressure,
I've spent,
especially on.
yeah, like there's so many amazing, talented people, whether you're a new grad, whether you're pivoting into tech, whether you've been in tech for so long. And it's the market is strange, totally, like it is, but just don't allow yourself to be hard on yourself. I know it's tough, but like just know that you are good, you're great, and your skill set is valuable, it's marketable. It's a weird, strange time right now. And there's still opportunities out there, but it has nothing to do with your background.
And I think as well, just knowing that like no matter how far you get down the job process, going down to that final interview and not getting the job, 9 times, almost 10 times out of 10, it's not about you. It's
Yeah.
about the recruiter. You have not done something wrong. It normally comes down to the fact that you've got two identical people. Who are you going to pick?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and just learning that it's kind of it is brutal, but it is, you will find that job. Um,
Yeah. And I think again, like the piece to, I think, is super valuable is like the learning the company's values, the personas, the people. Because at the end of the day, we're people. People want to work with people that, you know, that they enjoy, and that will bring value to the company. So I think like maybe it kind of goes back to that one question about the soft skills, but like just I think that piece is really important.
for sure. A more practical question:
Mhm.
is LinkedIn Premium worth it for the job searching process?
That's a good question. Um, you know what? I just don't know how much that is. So it's worth it, but I understand that not everyone is going to has the means to pay for it, right?
I think in the
Um,
UK, I don't know the US amount. In the UK, it's about £15 a month.
15 pounds a month. And I think some of them have a free trial, if
Mhm.
I'm not mistaken. Um, and I think if that's the case, take that free trial and run with it. Do it when you're ready, and then take advantage of it, by, messaging, and do it when you're ready.
Mhm.
But I think because you can just do it month to month. I
Mhm.
think it is worth it if you're going to be taking advantage of it for sure. The
Mhm.
power of LinkedIn is huge. Um, Recruiters, we live in LinkedIn. Not to say that there's not other means of getting opportunities or looking for people, but it's the main one.
Mhm.
So the other thing too is just put in the job, like your banner on your LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Um, Not like the big cover banner, but like the words, like the job that you want, not the job that you had, but the job that you want, because when you comment and like that's what people see, that's the job that you want. And someone said that to me And I've like the more and more I'm seeing it, and it's true. So it's almost like you're putting it out to the universe.
Perfect. And final question before we swap to resumes and I hand you over to Jide. Are recruiters considering bootcamp grads?
Pardon?
Are recruiters considering tech bootcamp grads?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, depends on what the company is, there's so many different kind of um recruiters, but of course, I think boot camp grads, there would be a lot of I think startups would see a lot of interest hiring boot camp grads the most, personally, I think. Because there's just like with certain companies, bigger ones, there might be certain red tape, like, you must have X amount of experience, you must have this, specific education. Whereas, startups, and that's such a great place to learn so much, in so many different, wearing many hats. But I would say a lot of like the boot camp grad, or like the grads, and I would say like don't just apply for jobs where you see like internships, like create your own opportunities based on the companies that interest you. And a lot of times you'll see in those companies, or just in companies that are like, here's just like apply anyways. Are you interested in the job? There might, or the company, we might have a role for you. Those are the ones that I would be, putting my name in there for. And like Y Combinator is like a website, for example, any sort of like VC type of website, where that's a great one because it has a whole bunch of startup jobs. And a lot of those startup jobs might have jobs that they don't have up there, being, they're growing, they're so busy, they don't even they don't even know what they need. They're like, okay, maybe we need a product designer, someone who's new, who's just ready to roll, or whatever it might be, engineering, who's just ready to just learn and grasp certain things, if it's the right tech stack, or if it's the right, you know, UI type of build, like whatever it might be. I would just say don't react to the jobs that you see. Be reflective and think about the jobs that you want and the companies that you want to work for, and create your own opportunities.
And it's nice to hear that as well because I think boot camps are not the most accessible for everybody, and I think it's more of a case of just kind of putting yourself out there based off what you've been able to teach yourself, what you've been able to learn and commit to from the learning process is just like, that Y Combinator website, finding jobs that are broad, that wanting people to apply because you never know, you could be that needle in a haystack. They could see your application, be like, this is exactly what we want. Experience, but not too much experience that they're biased.
Yeah.
Things like that would be great. Great. I really appreciate the time you took to answer these questions. I'm going to hand you over to Jide now to run through the resumes that have been submitted.
Sounds
Uh,
great.
and then to the rest of the audience, I'll be in one of the booth and one of the breakout rooms. So I look forward to seeing some of you there.
Thanks so much, Lucy and Haley. This has been really insightful. I feel like every time this is I think the second time we've had you back. I've just learned a lot. So thank you for your insights. And thank you for your great questions, Lucy. So we're gonna do the resume portion of this event. So I'm gonna share my screen. I messaged a couple people beforehand. I think we'll be able to get in about 3 resumes. So let me just see here. I think we're probably going to start with Courtney. Give me 1 second. Just trying to share my screen. Okay. All right. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So now let me just get Courtney here. So Courtney, if you can just come off mute, maybe just tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what your goals are, and then any sort of um, big questions you have about your resume, and then we'll dive in.
All right. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, perfect. So yeah, so just a little bit about myself. I have actually, I was originally in client services where I was mostly client facing, but it was just last year I actually participated in the Grace Hopper Web Development Bootcamp, which I have listed here, which was a 3-month intensive program. And that's where I gained a lot of my skills. And as of right now, I'm still actually on ongoing in the job search. So it has been about a year since I graduated from the boot camp. So I'm still in the job search process. But my goal is I just really want to break into tech, and I want to become a software engineer and really fully put my skills to work, and hopefully become more of a senior in the next 10 years or so. But mostly want to break into tech at the moment.
Love that. Well, I think I think your resume reads really well. So far, the way I liked even just how you have your GitHub portfolio, LinkedIn, hyperlinked to the resume and your technical skills. Like it looks really great. The one thing that I would say you could add, at the top, just like two sentences, like tops 3 of just like a summary of, past experience, moved into, and now aspiring, engineer, like looking to grow my career in like B2B tech or whatever it is,
Okay.
specifically, because when I see it, like, I think it looks great, but I'm wondering what, adventures, like, were these like B2B companies? Were they SaaS companies? Or like, what does she want next? You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
But everything
Yeah,
like looks great. Everything. I like the way you've outlined your experience. I think it reads well. The big thing as a recruiter in general is just like, everyone we don't have the attention span to read a lot, right? So the bullet points are quick. It's easy to like understand, see where your technical skills are, see that you most recently have gained like an education in full stack. So that's great. Any sort of accomplishments, like one big thing is like you're with any sort of technical projects or experience, like list, I'm sure it's good to put the task of what you've done, but like an accomplishment,
Okay.
Can I ask a question to Hillary? So like I just got a printer, right? I don't print things out that much.
Yeah.
But I'm
No one
wondering,
does, eh?
yeah. Yeah, my parents asked me to get a printer. I was like, why? So I'm wondering, like, because the links are hyperlinked, right? I can't see them. Is that like a big deal, or is it okay? Like, are people printing out resumes to look at them, or is it okay that they're just hyperlinked?
I think that's just great for, digitally. Most of the time, no one's printing out resumes anyways, right? So it's great if it's just digital.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, and I agree with everything you were saying, Courtney. I think your resume is great. I really like that you listed out your skills. I think a lot of people, that's kind of the first thing that I look at when I look at a resume, like what are the skills? What's kind of what can I sort of expect from you? Would you say, my question here is, would you say that this is something that we've kind of talked about with like career switchers, how to make their previous experience like relevant? I think we had someone this past week, he's a junior engineer, and he did not put anything from his past on his resume. It was just all the new stuff. What's kind of your take on putting things that um, aren't exactly relevant, but maybe there's a way that you can kind of make them relevant? Like, yeah, what's kind of
Yeah.
your
I think if it's really not relevant at all, if you don't see any benefit from your past experience going to be help you in your new experience or your, then maybe not. Like, if you worked as, drove a truck and then you got into software development, like maybe in the interview process it could be, but I think I think there's a way to sell that. Like, it's your story. I think people more and more like love hearing hiring managers. Like I recently just put someone forward. He used to be a magician, and then he became a software engineer. And the company just really values, an entrepreneurial and just like unique people. So they're like, that's awesome. So I think, and often there's soft skills that go along with it, but big thing is just really read over if there is a job description. Look at the day-to-day tasks, like the responsibilities. If there's responsibilities in that role, soft skills most likely that are relevant to what you've done in the past. Maybe it was training or onboarding people. Maybe it was, coordinating customers. Like I'm looking at your background in your past and what you've done. Like maybe it's client facing. If that's relevant and you're interested in like potentially like a tech agency, an e-commerce agency, that's client facing, that's customer, like understanding, that's great, that's relevant. So I think it really depends on the job. And that's why you hear it's good to have more than one type of resume. Maybe you need to tweak it a little bit. And that doesn't mean you have to tweak it like a ton, but I think it's if just always look at that, the day to day, and if you can tweak it a little bit, that's great. And you might have one resume that takes out your past experience and just focuses on what you want and your pivot. And then you'll have another one that has it in because it ties into, kind of beautifully to your story of with another company that would really value your past experience as well.
Nice. Yeah, I think you did a really good job there, Courtney, kind of highlighting your past experience. I think a lot of people like to see for junior engineers is that, they're not really afraid of a challenge. They're kind of go-getters. Because I think that's what it takes to really sort of be successful. It's, just to being able to jump in, into the unknown. So I think you did a really good job of kind of highlighting
Yeah,
that.
and like you have the soft skills, like, of connecting with customers, connecting and like cross-functionally with people internally. Like that's huge, because as a developer, you're connecting internally, you might be connecting with product who's connecting with the customers, or you know what I mean? So I think that's all relevant. And I think no matter what, if you can sell it, your past experience and how it's going to make you a better engineer, amazing. Just really like maybe practice that pitch, and then you'll believe it, and so will the companies.
Okay, yeah, cool. I think I lost you here. Um, um, any other thoughts, Courtney? Do you have any other questions real quick before we move on?
Just really quick. I think my main concern is hopefully it's not like too wordy. Going back to what Hillary mentioned, is that sometimes I feel like maybe people don't have like enough time to like really read that. I just want to make sure like it's not like too wordy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I can like condense it maybe a little bit more.
I mean, you could probably condense your past experience.
Okay.
I would, if it's anything, condense your past experience to maybe 2 bullet points each.
Okay.
Or even add like it's okay to have, the most is to have 2-page resume. But I would say like, yeah, do that. If you wanted to have 2. But I think it's bullet pointed like enough for me to like, I think that the key technologies for each position is really important. It's like, okay, that means I can see like how much time they've had React or worked with, those certain programming languages. But yeah, I think there it might be a way to mitigate some of the words, but really I don't think it's too wordy.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. I'll definitely take some revisions, but I appreciate the advice. Seriously, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. So I messaged someone, but I didn't get a response. Praise, are you still here? You can raise your hand if you're still here. There's also Holly. If you can raise your hand as well through the chat. Actually, I see you here, Holly. Okay.
Hi, I'm here.
Yes, if you can just give a quick intro about yourself and kind of what you're looking to do.
Yeah. So I finished a UX UI bootcamp about 6 weeks ago. And I'm looking for my first role in UX design. At the top there, I have a UX designer position, basically a freelance project I was working on. I put in as a listing on my experience, just to kind of have like that first experience, have that title. But yeah, I'm looking for like my first full-time role in UX design.
Awesome. Looks great. And it's great that you have had that experience most recently. And do you have any sort of like portfolio or any like use cases of any?
I do, yeah, on my website, which is just listed at the top.
Yeah. Sorry. Okay, perfect. So we have that. That's huge. And so what do you have any specific concerns or questions about how it's laid out, or were you concerned about anything?
Mostly I'm concerned about like how to tell the story of my experience, because I've jumped around a bit, and I've gone from project management to technical customer support and success to like running my own ceramics business, alongside which I was like managing a family crisis, and I don't know if I should like talk about that.
Yeah. Like how much do you take?
Yeah.
I think I similar to like the past resume, I think there is an opportunity to have a couple sentences at the top to like pitch you or your experience and what you're looking for next in a way, because again, like I think it's just embrace what you've gone through, like the fact that you are so dynamic, like what you've been, you're an entrepreneur, you have that client facing background, you have this technical background as a technical project manager, and now you also are super creative, and now you have this other piece. So it's like, if there's a way that you can kind of just eloquently put together something like the 2 to 3 pitch or 2 sentence pitch, I think is worthwhile at the top. But big thing I think is just any sort of like, again, people want to see accomplishments, or like ways that you've said, like, I've created, I helped this company by X do this, or establish this, or created this. So maybe you already have that there, but I think any sort of accomplishment on each role is worth noting. Most likely just like the top 3, I would say. It doesn't have to go all the way back. But yeah, I mean, I think that your skills and tools, that's important, because as a recruiter or hiring manager, they want to understand like the type of tools and skill set that you've been working on most recently. And you know, yeah, I think the story in itself is important. And even just like what you're looking for, are you hoping to work for, in like a B2B SaaS company, or is it an agency, or what would be ideal?
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
You're welcome.
Do you think the skills should be moved closer to the top? I think when I first saw the resume, that's something that I was looking for, but then when I scrolled down, I was like, oh, there it is. But do you think that's something that people want to see immediately? I know, like for software engineers, that's something that I've seen that people want to see, but would you say it's the same for designers?
I would say, let me see, can you go to the top again? Yeah, I think either, I mean, because it's a one pager, I don't think it's a really big deal. If it was, I think it could work both ways, but moving forward as you gain more experience, I think it's worth putting, like, just in like the other resume before, like the technical skills in each position, because it enables people to understand where they've had worked with certain type of languages and skill sets or technical skills.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Thank you, Holly. I think that's all the time we have for the resume part. So let me just stop sharing. And I guess now we're going to be transitioning over to the networking.
Yes, excellent. Thank you, Jide. Thank you, Hillary, as well. Sorry, I see a hand raised. Is there? Oh, okay, maybe those are burning questions. Any final kind of words? I know before we switch to the networking, any kind of final pieces of, I don't know, recommendations or thoughts, Hillary, you'd want to share before we shift gears? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but
No, I mean, I think now there's a lot of great resume tooling and stuff. I'm sure some of you already are familiar with some of them, but I think even just 5 years ago, you'd be like, wow, this would have been really helpful. But like Teal is one of them. And with AI, I just feel like there's a lot more. I think there's another one. What's it called? I think it's called Hiration, like Hirathon, which is another one. But yeah, I would say check those out too if you wanted just to kind of, you can put in your existing resume, and then there's a few different templates and ways you can put together, and yeah, the Teal I know is really helpful. I've used it before.
yeah, excellent, perfect. So much insights and wisdom here. Thank you, Hillary. So we're gonna switch gears for those looking to stay and connect with those in the room. Share your kind of insights and knowledge from today's session. So Lucy's going to put together some breakout rooms. Before we shift to that, what I'm going to do is just share a bit of a prompt to help kind of get the conversations lubricated a little organic as you get in the session. So we're asking you first, just introduce yourselves, share what your goals are, and then 2 prompts, I guess, obviously, depending on where you are at your career. Firstly, like, what's the most challenging thing that you had to overcome when deciding to switch careers? Was there any friction you faced or challenges when you're looking to make that decision? Or if you want to extend it past that, what have been the challenges as you're embarking on the switch? And then more broadly, what do you think are the biggest barriers to women in tech in this industry? What are the biggest challenges that women face? So I'm going to put these questions in the chat as we go through the breakout rooms, and we're going to be cycling through as well. So Lucy, anything else you need?
No, I'm gonna create 4 breakout rooms, so each breakout room will have one of us sat in it to help facilitate the discussion if needed. But you can choose which group you can join. Obviously, none of us will be offended, but try and keep it like equally distributed so that not everyone's just going over to Hillary's side. Apologies.
Is that me? Oh, sorry.
Just get a call.
It's probably my husband going, "Why aren't you paying attention to me?" So I'm going to create this breakout rooms, and then we can get chatting, and we have about 25 minutes. So hopefully it should be great.
Alyssa was asking if we're going to be coming back to the main room after the session. I don't think
No,
so.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. So
Oh, so should we share the survey, or should we do that later?
yeah, I could put it in the chat and it'll broadcast through all the rooms, so the chat will still be relevant.
Perfect. I have opened all the rooms.
Is it?
Okay, you gonna put me in one?
I don't see it.
This is breakout rooms in progress.
Yeah, I see them.
You have to go in and join them.
Oh, I see it now. Okay.
So Hillary, you go to room 1, Gita, you go to room 2, Hubert, you go to room 3, and I'll go to room 4.
Where do
Okay.
I see this though?
It should be on the screen.
Yeah, it didn't pop up for me, Hillary. If you go to like the triple dots at the bottom near the end.
Yeah, just breakout rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, I see them now. Yeah.
And we'll be bouncing around the rooms, right? Like I can move around the rooms. Okay.
What room should I go to?
1.
And which one am I, Hillary? Oh, sorry. Lucy?
3.
3. Okay. I'm gonna send these prompts as well.
I got it.
My 2 or 4?
2, Gita.
See, they pay
Okay.
attention.
Attention!
Okay. Okay.
I'm just trying to share this prompt.
Hey, Hubert, can you post it in the chat? It's kind of
There it is. When you broadcast, it doesn't
yeah, you can't see the whole thing.
see.
That's okay. I'll just yeah. So these are all of them.
Sorry?
Okay. Just post them in my room.
Okay. I'll go to each room and post them as well, actually. Hi, everyone. Just a reminder, I'm going to share a link for some feedback. We'd love to get your thoughts on these breakout rooms. And Lucy mentioned in the room we were in, there will be more sessions focused specifically on networking. So your feedback, as I said, is really welcome to help us improve these sessions. The recording for the actual workshop will be up on joinequip.com. And yeah, stay abreast for more workshops to come. Anything else, guys? Jide, Hillary, Lucy?
No, thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. Have a great rest of the Friday and weekend, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Good work, everyone. Well
Wow.
done. My room was getting a little dicey for me. I had to pull back a little bit.
What happened?
I mean, we were talking about when, the last question of, what challenges women see in the workplace, and I was giving my perspective on finance, and do you need to be more assertive to deal with this and that? And I was just throwing it out there. I just said my question was, have you seen women who have been successful, and what have they had to do? Because in finance, those who have been successful have had to be like extremely assertive, like abnormally assertive to get, to succeed in the world of finance, which is also very dominant, male dominated. So we were just talking around that topic. And I wanted to, yeah. So it was an interesting conversation.
They weren't gonna like beat you up or anything?
I was worried they were. I was worried, should I be in here?
Well, I
Um,
realized that I don't know if you guys, I can't remember how Zoom works, but when you're in breakout rooms, I don't know if you're just shown the chat for like your